The cabin lights flickered low over the Atlantic. A red eye from JFK to Heathrow that felt more like a coffin than a cocoon. Riley Thompson gripped the galley cart, her knuckles whitening against the cool metal, the wheels squeaking faintly like a distant complaint. Turbulence had just rocked them sideways, sending a passenger's half-empty coffee sloshing across the aisle, the bitter drip-drip echoing in her ears amid the muffled groans from row 22. She was 28, all lean muscle from weekend hikes up Rainier, her Seattle roots etched in the faint freckles dusting her nose. But tonight, exhaustion clawed deeper than jet lag ever could. Another layover, another mask. Smile bright, voice steady. Bury the ache that had simmered since her last breakup, the one that left her questioning if love was just recycled turbulence. Need a hand? The voice sliced through the dim hum, soft but steady, like velvet over steel. Harper Ellis emerged from the jump seat shadows, her 32 years carrying the weight of Manhattan's grind, long shifts in high-rises before trading boardrooms for blue skies. Her New York edge honed sharp by a divorce that still tasted like stale espresso. She moved with the grace of someone who'd learned to navigate storms without flinching, her dark hair pinned back in a no-nonsense twist, uniform hugging her frame like a second skin. Their eyes met over the cart's edge, Riley's hazel sparking against Harper's emerald calm, and in that suspended breath, the plane dipped again, jolting them forward. Riley's hand shot out to steady the tray, but it collided with Harper's, palm to palm, fingers splaying in a tangle that sent a jolt up her arm, warmer than the recycled air, sharper than the seatbelt chime. Time stretched, the cabin's recycled scent of pretzels and faint perfume thickening around them, Harper's skin soft against the calluses Riley had earned from gripping life too tight. Neither pulled away. Not yet. Harper's breath hitched, a quiet intake that Riley felt more than heard, her own pulse thundering like the engines below. Sorry, Riley murmured, voice rough around the edges, but her fingers curled just a fraction, testing the gravity of this stranger's warmth. Harper withdrew first, slow like uncoiling from a dream, her cheeks flushing under the overhead glow. No harm. She busied herself with the napkins, folding them with precise creases, but her mind replayed the contact, the unintended intimacy, electric and forbidden in its simplicity. She'd sworn off this after Elena, after the late-night arguments in their Brooklyn walk-up, the way love had curdled into silence. Flight attending was her escape, skies vast enough to outrun the pull of another heart. Yet here in the narrow galley confines, Riley's proximity stirred something dormant, a flutter low in her chest like the first sip of chilled Chardonnay after a red eye. The turbulence eased, but the air between them crackled. Passengers stirred, a baby wailed 2 rows back, the scent of warmed blankets wafting up like a half-hearted truce. Riley pushed the cart onward, her shoulder brushing Harper's as they maneuvered the tight space. Accidental, or was it that graze ignited memories unbidden? Stolen glances at crew briefings, the way Harper's laugh cut through the pre-flight drone last week in Dallas, low and genuine, like rain on hot pavement. Riley had chalked it up to cabin fever, the endless cycle of gates and gates, but now with Harper's gaze lingering on the curve of her neck, doubt cracked open. By the time they reached economy's rear, the plane had leveled, stars pricking the black outside the windows like scattered diamonds. Harper leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed, watching Riley distribute waters with that effortless charm, her smile a beacon, dimples flashing like secrets. "You always this steady in a shake?" Harper asked, tone light, but her eyes betrayed the probe, searching for cracks in the facade. Riley paused, bottle mid-handover, the plastic crinkling under her grip. "Grew up chasing my dad's Cessna around Boeing Field. Shakes are just invitations to dance." She winked, but it faltered, vulnerability seeping through like fog off Puget Sound. The truth hung heavier. Her father's crash 2 years back, the empty hangar that still echoed with his whistle. Skies weren't home, they were hauntings. And Harper looked at her like she saw the ghosts. They collapsed into the crew rest during the quiet hours, bunks stacked like forgotten promises. Riley claimed the lower, the thin mattress sighing under her weight, the hum of white noise machines a poor veil against her racing thoughts. Above, Harper shifted, her bunk creaking softly, the rustle of sheets a whisper in the dark. Riley's mind replayed the touch, The way Harper's thumb had brushed her knuckle, innocent yet loaded, like handing over a key to a door she'd bolted shut. Sleep evaded, the air thick with the faint citrus of Harper's lotion, mingling with the metallic tang of altitude. Dawn crept in over Ireland's green blur, the cabin stirring with breakfast trays and murmured awakenings. Riley emerged first, splashing water on her face in the lavatory, the mirror fogging with her exhale. She caught her reflection, eyes shadowed, lips parted on a sigh, and wondered if Harper felt it too. This tether forged in a moment's chaos. Back in the galley, Harper was already prepping, her movements fluid, but when their eyes locked over the coffee urn, the steam curling between them like unspoken words, Riley knew. The touch hadn't ended, it had just begun unraveling them. Layover in London hit like a exhale, Heathrow's vast halls echoing with accents sharp as gin, the crew scattering to pubs and pillows. Riley and Harper lingered at the gate, bags slung over shoulders, the fluorescent buzz humming overhead. Fancy a walk? Jet lag's a beast, Riley offered, voice casual, but her heart tripped over the words, the invitation hanging like mist off the Thames. Harper hesitated, fingers twisting her lanyard, the plastic warm from her palm. Memories of Elena's ghost, late walks in Central Park, promises that dissolved like sugar in rain clung tight. But Riley's gaze held no demands, just a quiet pull, like the horizon calling. Yeah, let's. They stepped into the crisp morning, Tower Bridge's shadow stretching long, the Thames lapping lazy against stone. Cobblestones clicked under their boots, the air sharp with river damp and distant diesel. They talked in fits, Riley spinning tales of Seattle's ferries cutting fog, the salt spray stinging like first kisses, Harper countering with New York's pulse, subway rumbles syncing with her old heartbeat. Laughter bubbled up, genuine, the kind that loosens knots in your chest. At a corner cafe, steam rising from mugs of builder's tea, their knees brushed under the table, deliberate this time, neither shifting away. Harper's breath caught, the ceramic warm against her lips, Riley's foot nudging hers in silent Morse. Back at the hotel, rain pattered against the window like impatient fingers. Shared room, crew policy, no big deal, but the space shrank with their proximity. Riley unpacked with feigned nonchalance, her tank top riding up to reveal a tattoo on her rib. A compass rose, ink faded from time. Harper's eyes traced it, unbidden, the line of her hip a map she'd never charted. "What's the story?" she asked, voice low, unpacking her own kit with hands that trembled just once. "Direction when I lost mine." Riley's tone dipped, the rain's rhythm underscoring the pause. She stepped closer, the carpet muffling her bare feet, the room's heater humming soft. Harper didn't retreat, her back to the dresser, the wood cool against her spine. The air thickened, scented with hotel soap and the faint vanilla of Riley's shampoo. Their hands found each other again. Not accident but anchor, fingers interlacing slow, Harper's pulse visible in her throat. Riley leaned in, forehead to forehead, breaths mingling in shallow waves. It's not just the sky, is it?" The words escaped on a whisper, raw, the vulnerability stripping her bare. Harper's free hand rose, cupping Riley's jaw, thumb tracing the line of her cheekbone, the touch igniting like dry tinder. "No," Harper breathed, eyes shimmering with unshed storms. "It's the ground rushing up." Their lips met, tentative then fierce, the kiss a collision of pent-up winds, tasting of tea and longing, the rain outside crescendoing in applause. Riley's hands tangled in Harper's hair, pins scattering like fallen stars, Harper's nails grazing her back through thin cotton, drawing a gasp that echoed in the quiet. They tumbled to the bed, sheets twisting like vines, bodies mapping each other with urgent reverence, skin on skin, sighs weaving with the storm's growl. In that London downpour, barriers dissolved, love blooming fierce and uncharted. A simple touch evolved into a vow etched in thunder. But dawn brought clarity's edge. Over breakfast in the sterile lounge, croissants flaking like doubts, Harper pulled back, her fork tracing patterns in jam. "This job, it moves us faster than we can feel." Her voice cracked, the words heavy with the ghosts of commitments past. Elena's ring still a phantom weight on her finger. Riley reached across, palm up, but Harper's hand stayed folded, the space between them widening like an ocean crossing. The flight back to JFK was a gauntlet of silences. Turbulence returned fiercer, the plane bucking like a wild thing, passengers clutching armrests with white-knuckled prayers. Riley served with mechanical smiles, her mind replaying the night's heat, the arch of Harper's back, the salt of her skin, but each glance met Harper's averted eyes, a wall rebuilt in hours. In the galley, amid the clatter of trays, Harper finally spoke, voice barely above the engine's roar. Last night was real. But I'm scared, Riley, of crashing again. Riley's chest tightened, the cart's edge biting into her hip. We don't have to land yet. But the words fell flat, the cabin's pressure building like unspoken fears. As wheels kissed tarmac in New York, the distance solidified. Harper's number exchanged in a hurried scrawl, promises murmured like afterthoughts. Riley watched her vanish into the terminal throng, the echo of their touch fading into the city's relentless hum, wondering if skies could hold a heart intact. Weeks blurred into routes. LA to Miami, Denver layovers under snow-dusted peaks. Texts pinged sporadic. Riley's photos of palm-lined beaches, Harper's quips about gridlock commutes. But the pull lingered, a undercurrent in every boarding call. Then Chicago O'Hare, a freak storm grounding flights, stranding them in a gate lounge thick with frustration. Delayed hours stretched, the PA droning cancellations like bad omens, coffee going cold in styrofoam cups. Riley spotted her first Harper, curled in a corner seat, knees drawn up, scrolling her phone with that familiar furrow between her brows. Heart leaping, Riley wove through the crowd, dropping her bag with a thud that turned heads. Fancy meeting you here. The grin was pure Seattle sunshine, but her eyes pleaded, raw under the joke. Harper looked up, surprise melting into something softer, weary. Fate's got a twisted sense of humor. They migrated to a quieter alcove, the airport's underbelly humming with baggage belts and muffled announcements. Conversation flowed, halting, work gripes, a shared laugh over a passenger's meltdown, but undercurrents swirled, the night's memory a ghost between words. As lightning cracked outside, illuminating the plate glass, Harper's hand found Riley's on the armrest, deliberate this time, fingers threading like lifelines. I ran last time. From feeling too much. Her voice trembled, the storm's rumble underscoring the confession. Riley squeezed, the vinyl seat creaking under their shift. Then stay. With me. No maps, just us. The kiss came fierce, unscripted. Lips crashing amid the chaos, Harper's hands fisting Riley's jacket, pulling her close against the armrest's edge. Tastes of vending machine mints in desperation. Breaths ragged with the thunder's echo. Passers-by blurred, the world narrowing to this stolen pocket. Bodies pressing urgent. Harper's sigh vibrating against Riley's neck. But the storm broke, flights resuming, yanking them apart like reluctant parachutes. In the boarding rush, hands brushed once more, valediction or vow. Riley boarded first, settling into her jump seat, the engine's whine drowning her pulse. Harper followed, their eyes locking across the cabin. A silent pact forged in delay's fire. As the plane climbed into clearing skies, Chicago's lights winking farewell below, Riley felt the shift. Not just touch but tether. Love in its messy ascent, demanding they learn to soar together. Sunset bled orange over Phoenix Sky Harbor, the dry heat clinging like a lover's sweat as Riley deplaned, her uniform sticking uncomfortably, the faint scent of creosote from the desert floor seeping through the jet bridge. It had been 3 weeks since Chicago's storm-kissed truce, texts evolving from cautious check-ins to midnight confessions. Harper's voice notes husky with fatigue, Riley's photos capturing sunrises over the Cascades, captions laced with inside jokes about galley flirtations. But proximity eluded them, schedules clashing like mismatched gears, leaving Riley adrift in a sea of what-ifs, her Seattle apartment echoing with unpacked regrets. She checked her phone, the screen's glow harsh against the terminal's Adobe warm lights. Delayed in Dallas. Rain again. Miss your laugh. Harper's words landed like a soft landing, warming the chill of air-conditioned blasts. Riley typed back, thumbs flying. Phoenix is oven hot without you. Dreamt of your hands last night. Send. Heat flushed her cheeks, Not from the tarmac bleed but the boldness, the way Harper unlocked her, piece by uncharted piece. A crew mixer that night at a rooftop bar downtown. String lights twinkling against saguaro silhouettes, pulled her from solitude. Laughter rang out over clinking glasses of prickly pear margaritas, the tart bite cutting through the evening's haze. Riley nursed hers at the railing, the city's sprawl a glittering distraction, until Harper appeared, fashionably late, windswept from a connecting flight, her off-duty jeans hugging curves Riley had traced in fevered memory, blouse unbuttoned just enough to tease collarbone freckles. Their eyes locked across the crowd, the din fading to a low buzz, like the world tuning out for their cue. Harper wove through, a path clearing unconsciously, her smile tentative yet blooming full when Riley pulled her into a hug, bodies aligning perfect, Harper's chin tucking over her shoulder, the faint lavender of her skin a balm against the night's spice. "You made it," Riley murmured into her hair, inhaling deep, the strands silk soft. "Wouldn't miss burning alive with you." Harper's reply vibrated low, her hand sliding to the small of Riley's back, fingers splaying possessive. They retreated to a corner booth, knees knocking under the scarred wood table, the vinyl seats sticking slightly in the heat. Conversation danced light at first, war stories from a toddler tantrum in first class, the absurdity of serving peanuts to allergy-wary skies, but deepened with each sip, the margarita's glow loosening tongues. Harper leaned in, elbow on the table, her green eyes reflecting the fairy lights like forest pools. "That dream. Tell me." Her voice dropped intimate, the bar's mariachi strumming fading to underscore. Riley's pulse quickened, the air between them charged, thick with unspoken blueprints. "Your hands. Mapping me slow like you were learning every scar." She reached across, tracing Harper's wrist vein, the pulse there fluttering wild. Harper's breath hitched, a soft exhale that ghosted Riley's knuckles, her own fingers curling to capture the touch. The booth shrank, the world peripheral. Colleagues chatter a distant wave, the desert wind whispering through potted cacti. Harper's free hand rose, cupping Riley's cheek, thumb brushing her lower lip. The callus from years of service trays a delicious rasp. "I want that. You. No more running." The confession hung, raw, her eyes shimmering with the vulnerability of a woman who'd rebuilt walls only to invite breach. Riley closed the gap, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of lime and promise. Slow at first, exploratory, then deepening, tongues tangling with the urgency of delayed flights. Harper's nails grazing Riley's neck, drawing a low moan swallowed by the music. They broke apart breathless, foreheads pressed, the booth's shadows cradling them. "Your place," Riley whispered, voice gravel rough, Harper nodding fervent, her hand slipping into Riley's pocket for the keys. A gesture bold, claiming. The drive blurred, Phoenix's freeways a neon streak, radio crooning indie folk that mirrored their rhythm. Harper's fingers traced Riley's thigh as she drove, the denim barrier electric, Riley's grip tightening on the wheel, a sigh escaping on a red light's pause. Riley's rental was a sun-baked adobe walk-up, ceiling fans whirring lazy against the night's residual warmth. They tumbled through the door, shoes kicked haphazard, the door clicking shut like a starting gun. Harper backed Riley against the wall, kisses trailing fire down her jaw and neck, the cotton of her tee yielding to eager hands. "God, Riley," Harper breathed, voice breaking on the name, her palms sliding under fabric, mapping ribs and curves with reverent hunger. Riley arched, fingers threading Harper's hair, the pins giving way in a cascade, dark waves spilling free like midnight rivers. They migrated to the bed, sheets cool against heated skin, the fan's breeze raising gooseflesh. Undressed slow, deliberate, Harper's blouse unbuttoned with trembling fingers, revealing lace that Riley kissed through, eliciting gasps that punctuated the quiet like stars. Bodies entwined, exploration mutual tender. Riley's mouth on Harper's collarbone, tasting salt and sighs. Harper's legs wrapping Riley's waist, heels digging crescents, their rhythms syncing like perfect crosswinds. Climax built in waves, crashing mutual, cries muffled into shoulders, the afterglow a tangle of limbs and whispered endearments, the desert night outside a silent witness. Morning light filtered through slatted blinds, painting stripes on Harper's sleeping form. Lips parted, lashes fanning cheeks flushed from dreams. Riley watched, propped on elbow, the rise-fall of her chest a lullaby, wonder swelling in her throat. This wasn't fleeting, it was foundation, the kind that withstood gales. But as Harper stirred, eyes blinking open to meet hers, a shadow crossed, reality's intrusion, the beep of an alarm signaling check-in. Over coffee on the fire escape, mug steaming in the cool dawn, Harper voiced it first. Schedules are killers. What if this is all layovers? Her tone wavered, fingers tracing the mug's rim. The ceramic chipped like her resolve. Riley set hers down, bridging the space, knees touching on the narrow landing. Then we fight the routes. Bid together, steal overnights. I'm not letting go. The words landed firm, laced with the steel of someone who'd lost sky once and clawed back. Harper searched her face, the vulnerability yielding to resolve, her hand finding Riley's nape, pulling her into a kiss salted with black brew. Sealing sure. Together then. The promise hung sweet, the sun climbing higher, gilding their joined hands. But airlines were empires of caprice. A week later, a roster reshuffle hurled them opposite. Riley westbound to San Fran fog, Harper east to Boston's brisk bite. Texts bridged gaps but miles gnawed, frustration simmering in delayed replies, the ache of empty bunks. Then Denver, a hub of high plains drama, autumn winds whipping gold leaves across concourses. Riley's flight in first, turbulence scattering her thoughts like confetti. She deplaned shaky, scanning the gate for Harper's silhouette, heart lifting when she appeared. Leaning against a pillar, scarf loose around neck, eyes lighting like runway beacons. Missed my turbulence partner, Harper quipped, but her hug lingered, bodies molding in the flow of passengers, the faint wool of her coat grounding. They claimed a quiet bar in the terminal's underbelly, leather stools creaking under them, the pour of amber alesh frothing soft. Talk to my captain, Riley said, swirling her glass, the beer's malty scent rising. Seniority swap. We sync routes next month. Excitement edged her voice but caution tempered. Past bids had backfired. Love's logistics a cruel joke. Harper's smile bloomed slow, relief flooding her features, but doubt lingered in the crease of her brow. And if it doesn't stick? I'm tired of half measures. The admission cracked open. Raw from nights alone in hotel husks, Elena's shadow whispering failures. Riley covered her hand, thumb stroking knuckles, the bar's low jazz underscoring the intimacy. Then we rewrite the manifest. You're my constant altitude. The kiss that followed was unhurried, sealing over the bar top, patrons blurring to irrelevance, Harper's fingers in Riley's hair tugging gentle, a sigh shared in the dim. But outside a winter front brewed, snow dusting runways delaying their connector. Stranded again, they retreated to a crew lounge, the space sterile with vending hums and stiff couches. Curled together under a shared blanket, Harper's head on Riley's lap, fingers idly tracing her arm's constellation of moles, vulnerability spilled. I came out late, Harper confessed, voice muffled against Riley's thigh, the blankets fleece soft. Family in Queens, old school Italian, dad's a cop, mom's the rosary type. Elena was the test run they never knew but the hiding. It hollowed me. Tears welled, hot on Riley's skin, her hand stroking Harper's hair in soothing arcs. My folks were open, dad flew with pride pins, mom baked for pride floats. But losing him. Skies feel like mine alone now. Shared scars wove them tighter, the lounge's clock ticking midnight, snowflakes pressing against windows like curious spectators. Sleep claimed them tangled, breath sinking in the quiet, love's warmth defying the chill. Dawn broke white, flights canceled en masse, granting a stolen day in Denver's crisp embrace. They wandered Lodo streets, bundled against flurries, hot cocoa steaming from paper cups, the chocolate's richness cutting cold. Larimer Square's brick alleys charmed, holiday lights premature twinkles, Harper's gloved hand in Riley's pocket, fingers warming mutual. At a jazz dive, sax wails curling smoke-thick air, they swayed close, bodies swaying to bass thrum, Harper's cheek to Riley's temple, whispers of futures amid the melody. Shared apartments in neutral zones, maybe Austin's vibe or Portland's green. But evening brought the call. Routes cleared, wheels up at dawn. Back in the lounge, packing hurried, Harper paused, bag half-zipped, eyes locking Riley's with fierce intent. No more halves. When we land next, we tell the crew. Own this. The declaration landed bold, Riley's nod fervent, pulling her into an embrace that crushed bags aside, lips meeting desperate, the kiss a bridge over divides. As their flights diverged, Riley to Seattle's rain-slick arms, Harper to New York's concrete pulse. The separation stung sharper but resolve armored. Texts flew fervent. Sky's bigger with you in it. Love once a spark from touch, now a steady burn, illuminating paths they chart as one. Yet cracks spidered. A month in, synced on a transcon to LAX, gossip slithered through the galley. Whispers of a senior attendant's side eye. The industry's undercurrent of judgment for distractions. Riley caught it mid-service, a colleague's smirk over the beverage cart. Words laced with casual venom. Keep it professional, girls. Heat rose in her cheeks, not shame but fury, at the assumption, the erasure of their quiet power. Harper overheard too, her pour of soda faltering, ice clinking accusatory. In the lavatory break, door locked, she cornered Riley against the sink, hands framing her face, eyes blazing. Let them talk. We're not hiding. But doubt flickered, old wounds reopening, the mirror reflecting their flushed defiance. Riley kissed her hard, countertop-digging hips, the planes hum a cocoon. Damn right. But the seed of fear took root, threatening the bloom. Fog rolled thick off San Francisco Bay, cloaking SFO's towers in a gray shroud as Riley taxied through security, her roller bag's wheels whispering over tiles slick with morning mist. For months into their synced skies, the rhythm had settled. Overnight bids in neutral hubs, stolen weekends in Vegas neon or Napa vines. But the whispers had amplified, coiling like smoke through crew chats, turning every glance into evidence. She was 28 going on battle-worn, the compass tattoo on her rib itching like a warning under her blouse. Seattle's steady rains a memory against this coastal damp. Harper waited at the gate, coffee in hand. 2 shots espresso black, just how Riley liked, the steam curling like a beacon. 32 suited her fiercer now. New York's polish softened by their shared orbits. But shadows lingered in her eyes, the divorce papers finalized last spring, a scar that pulled tight in quiet moments. Rough night? Harper asked, handing over the cup, their fingers brushing deliberate, the ceramics heat a stand-in for skin. Riley sipped, the bitterness grounding, nodding toward the fog-shrouded runway. Dreams again. Dad's voice on the radio, static cutting him off. She leaned into Harper's side, the bench hard under them, the faint almond of her shampoo a comfort amid the PA's drone. Harper's arm draped casual, thumb stroking Riley's shoulder through wool, a silent anchor. He'd love you. Sky stories over beers. The words mended a fracture, Harper's warmth chasing ghosts, but Riley caught the tension in her jaw, the unspoken weight of their own brewing storm. The flight to Seattle was routine silk, passengers dozing under eye shades, the cabin's hush broken only by the occasional cough or page turn. In the forward galley, prepping snacks, Riley's hip bumped Harper's intentional, eliciting a shared grin, the crinkle of foil packets underscoring their bubble. But mid-service, a call light pinged, first class, the passenger a silver-haired exec with a gaze too sharp, his request for extra pillows laced with a lingering stare at their linked pinkies under the cart. Back in the jump seats for descent, Harper's knee pressed Riley's, but her whisper cut tense. He saw. The way we. It's out there now. Riley's stomach nodded, Puget Sound glittering below like shattered glass, the landing gears whine a harbinger. So what? We're good at this. But doubt crept, the touch that started it all now a beacon for scrutiny. Love's light refracting into hazard. Layover in Seattle hit home. Riley's turf, Pike Place's fish tosses and market bustle a bomb. They checked into a boutique hotel overlooking Elliott Bay. The room's floor-to-ceiling windows framing ferries cutting wakes, salt air seeping through cracks. Unpacked hasty, Harper drew Riley a bath. Steaming tub scented with lavender salts, candles flickering like hesitant stars. Undress for me, Harper murmured, voice low, her fingers working Riley's buttons slow, exposing skin inch by reverent inch, the water's lap inviting. Riley sank in, sighs escaping as heat enveloped, Harper kneeling at the edge, sleeves rolled, washing her back with loofah strokes that bordered worship, gentle circles over shoulders knotted from pull-down bins, down the spine to dimples that drew Harper's lips in feather kisses. "You're my safe altitude," Riley breathed, head lolling back, water sloshing soft. Harper's hands ventured lower, soapy trails igniting, fingers teasing folds until Riley arched, gasps echoing off tiles, climax rippling like bay waves, Harper's name a chant on her lips. They migrated to bed, sheets crisp with hotel starch, bodies still damp, tangling lazy, Harper atop, straddling, her weight a delicious press, grinding slow to mutual rhythm, breasts brushing in sync, moans weaving with the distant horn of a container ship. Harper's release came first, head thrown back, dark hair cascading wild, Riley following in her wake, nails raking thighs, the afterglow a sprawl of limbs and lazy traces, fingers painting patterns on sweat-slick skin. Morning brought Pike Place. Stalls brimming tulips and sourdough loaves, the air thick with brine and bloom. Hand in hand, unapologetic, they bartered for salmon, Harper's laugh ringing as fishmongers bantered, Riley stealing kisses amid the chaos, the crowd's blur a shield. But at a coffee cart, tucked in an alley's shadow, confrontation brewed. A fellow attendant from a prior route, badge glinting, approach hesitant. "Heard things. HR sniffing. Keep it clean, yeah." The words landed like ice water, Harper's grip tightening on her to-go cup, steam curling accusatory. Riley's retort burned. "Our business, not yours." But the seed festered, souring the brew. Back at the hotel, packing for the red-eye to Dallas, tension simmered. Harper's movements clipped, zipper yanking too hard. "This job chews distractions. What if they ground us?" Her voice cracked, eyes averted to the window's gray, rain pattering like doubts. Riley crossed the room, hands on hips, turning her gentle. "Then we fly private. Or quit for wineries. But hiding? That's the real crash." The plea hung raw, Harper's resolve fracturing, tears spilling hot. They embraced fierce, sobs muffled in necks, the rain's rhythm a dirge. "I love you," Harper whispered, first time voiced, the words a lifeline tossed. Riley echoed, fierce, sealing with a kiss that bruised tender. Bodies reaffirming in hurried passion. Against the desk, skirts hiked, fingers urgent, cries swallowed to evade thin walls. The red-eye to Dallas was a pressure cooker, cabin packed with bleary business types, the air stale with recycled breaths. Whispers reached them mid-flight. A flight purser's sidelong glance, murmurs of policy violations, filtering through the crew headset. Riley served with jaw set, smiles strained, the clink of cutlery a mask for inner churn. Harper, in economy, caught her eye across the divide. A nod of solidarity, but fear etched deeper, the simple joy of a shared glance now laced with peril. Dallas layover dawned humid, Love Field's heat wave pressing like a warning. They holed up in a chain motel off the interstate, AC rattling inconsistent, the room's beige anonymity a poor refuge. Over room service burgers, grease-spotting napkins, strategy brewed. Emails to union reps. Bids for international runs where scrutiny loosened. But Harper's phone buzzed insistent. A supervisor's summons, voicemail clipped with discussion required. Panic flared, Riley's fork dropping with a clatter. Ketchup blooming like blood. "It's starting." Harper paled but straightened, chin lifting New York steel. "We face it. Together." The cab to headquarters crawled through traffic, horns blaring symphony to their silence. Hands clasped white-knuckled on the vinyl seat. The leather's creak underscoring dread. The office was fluorescent hell, beige walls closing in, the HR rep's desk piled with manifests, her gaze clinical over bifocals. Fraternization concerns. Reports of inappropriate conduct in view of passengers. The words sliced, clinical, Harper's cheeks burning. Riley's fists clenching under the table. "It's love," Riley burst, voice steady despite the quake. "Not conduct. We're partners." The rep blinked, pen pausing, the clock's tick amplifying the standoff. Policies clear. Separate routes pending review. Verdict delivered, they exited numb. The lobby's chill seeping bone deep, Dallas sun mocking through glass. Outside, humidity slapped, Harper's tears mixing with sweat, Riley pulling her into alley shade. Against chain link, Kisses desperate, salty, fierce, hands roaming frantic under shirts, reclaiming agency in stolen breaths, the fences rattle a counterpoint to their moans. Back on the circuit, separation enforced, Riley looped Midwest hopscotch, Harper chained to East Coast shuttles, miles yawn vast, texts a lifeline fraying. Nights blurred in empty hotels, Riley's pillowcases damp with unshed grief, Harper's voicemails cracking on, "I need you." The touch that ignited now haunted, a memory weaponized, love's fire banked to embers under policy's boot. Crisis crested in Atlanta. A multi-leg day, fatigue carving hollows under eyes, the airport's vastness swallowing. Riley's inbound collided with Harper's outbound, a fluke overlap granting minutes at baggage claim. They collided in embrace, bodies crashing desperate, the carousels grind indifferent. "I can't breathe without you," Harper sobbed into Riley's neck, the scent of jet fuel and jasmine mingling. Riley held tighter, ribs aching. "Then let's burn it down. Resign. Start over." The proposal hung radical, Atlanta's heat amplifying, but resolve ignited, visions of ground life, perhaps a bed and breakfast in the Smokies, skies viewed from porches not cockpits. But as Harper's gate called, final boarding droning, doubt clawed back. What if it's not enough? Her whisper fractured, lips brushing Riley's in farewell, the kiss a bruise of longing. Separated again, the ache festered, routes a torment of near misses, glimpses at hubs, waves across tarmacs, hearts fracturing incremental. Riley's Seattle homecoming rang hollow, her father's old hangar visited alone, tools dusty echoes, the compass tattoo a mocking guide. Harper's Brooklyn walk-up, once Elena's prison, now solitary, the Hudson's flow a mirror to tears. Then the call. HR escalation, formal hearing in 2 weeks, threats of termination looming. Panic unified, frantic plans hatched over encrypted calls. Legal consults, union rallies, the fight reframed as justice. But beneath fear gnawed love's cost, the sky's betrayal. In a midnight voice note Harper broke. "If we lose this, do we lose us?" Riley's reply, voice steel through sobs. "Never. You're my horizon." The hearing loomed, a storm front on radar, their bond the only clear air. The hearing room in airline HQ outside Dallas smelled of stale coffee and printer ink, fluorescent strips buzzing overhead like angry hornets, the long oak table scarred from battles past. Riley sat rigid, her 28 years feeling ancient under the scrutiny, fingers drumming silent Morse on her knee, short long for hold on. The compass inked beneath her sleeve a talisman against unraveling. Seattle's grit had forged her resilient, but this sterile box stripped it bare, exposing the girl who'd chased her father's shadow, now fighting for her own light. Harper flanked her, 32's poise a veneer over quake, her New York fire banked to embers, nails digging crescents into palms to stay grounded. The panel loomed, 3 suits in muted ties, faces impassive as manifests, the union rep a lone ally scribbling notes. Air conditioning hummed Arctic, raising gooseflesh under uniforms, the faint leather of briefcases a reminder of contracts cold as the room. "Miss Thompson, Miss Ellis," the chair intoned, voice flat as tarmac, flipping folders with a rustle like dry leaves. Reports substantiate unprofessional conduct, public displays, route manipulations. Company policy prioritizes impartiality. The words landed surgical, Riley's jaw clenching, the metallic tang of fear on her tongue. Harper shifted, her sandalwood lotion a faint defiance in the clinical air, but her interjection came measured. "It's a relationship. Consensual, committed. Punishing love sets precedent for discrimination." Murmurs rippled, pens scratching, the clock's second hand slicing tension. Riley's turn, heart thundering like takeoff thrust. She leaned forward, palms flat on wood, cool as resolve. "We met in chaos, a touch amid turbulence. It grew because skies demand trust. Deny that, you ground us all." Vulnerability cracked through, eyes locking the chairs, the room's hush amplifying her pulse, Harper's hand brushing hers under table. Secret solidarity, electric as that first galley spark. Testimonies dragged, colleagues subpoenaed, their accounts a mixed fog. Supportive nods from allies who'd seen their quiet strength, veiled barbs from envious tongues painting favoritism. The union rep countered fierce, citing precedents. The legal pads flip a punctuation to arguments. Hours bled, coffee refills growing cold, the window's blind slats striping light like jail bars. As adjournment called, the chair's gavel rap echoed final. Deliberation tomorrow. Prepare for outcomes. They exited dazed, the hallway's echo chamber amplifying footfalls. Dallas midday sun glaring through glass like judgment. Outside, heat waves slapped, asphalt shimmering mirage. Harper sagged against Riley in the cab line, forehead to shoulder, a sigh shuddering out, deep bone-weary, the cotton of Riley's blouse muffling it. What if they clip us? The whisper fractured, tears hot on skin. Riley cupped her face, thumbs swiping tracks. The taxi cues exhaust a gritty backdrop. Then we rebuild wings. Grounded isn't broken. The kiss followed urgent, lips fierce against the world's edge, hands fisting collars, a reclaiming amid honks and stares, the cabbie's raised brow ignored. Back at the motel, door barely latched, they stripped armor. Uniforms pooling like shed skins, bodies colliding on the king bed's rumple, desperate affirmation. Harper's mouth trailed fire down Riley's sternum, tongue circling navel eliciting arches and gasps. Riley's fingers delved reverent, curling to Harper's core, rhythms building to shared shatter, cries weaving with the AC's drone. Afterglow a cling of sweat-slick limbs, breath sinking in fragile peace. Night fell humid, neon from the interstate flickering through curtains, casting shadows that danced like doubts. They lay tangled, Harper's head on Riley's chest, heartbeat a lullaby under her ear, fingers tracing lazy infinities on ribs. Remember London? Harper murmured, voice soft as the sheets slide. Rain like judgment, us like absolution. Riley hummed assent, lips pressing hair, the vanilla warmth a tether. Every storm's led here. We're the clear after. Dawn's verdict arrived via email, device pinging at 5:47 a.m., the motel's thin walls no shield from dread. Riley bolted up, Harper stirring groggy, their eyes meeting in the blue screen glow. Cleared. Reprimand noted. Routes restored with monitoring. Relief crash tidal, whoops echoing, bodies colliding in joyous tumble. Kisses peppered with laughter, tears of release salting skin. The bed springs protesting their role. We flew it, Riley gasped, Harper astride, grinding celebratory, climaxes quick and keen, sealing victory in shudders. Routes realigned, their skies converged smoother. Transkins to Honolulu's trade winds, layovers in Miami's pulse. But the wind tempered them, love no longer naive flight but navigated course. In Honolulu, Waikiki's waves lapping turquoise, they walked barefoot at dusk, sands warm under sols, the air coconut sweet with plumeria. Harper paused at the tide's edge, water swirling ankles, turning to Riley with eyes sea deep. Marry me. Not papers, promise. Here now under this sky. Riley's breath caught, salt spray misting lashes, the ocean's roar underscoring. She dropped to one knee in the surf, foam bubbling knees, pulling a shell from pocket, iridescent abalone, gathered that morning. Yes. Horizons shared. Rings later, but this vows exchanged in whispers, kisses sealed by crashing waves, the sunset painting them gold, love's touch eternalized. Months wove forward, a rhythm of altitudes and anchors. They bid for base in Austin. Texas Hill Country's live oaks a neutral heart. The city's music hum a soundtrack to their build. Apartment hunted. A loft with balcony views of Capitol Dome, walls echoing with laughter over takeout tamales, the sizzle of skillets mornings, coffee brewing to NPR's murmur. Harper's cookbook collection lined shelves, Riley's hiking boots by the door, their lives interleaving like contrails. Challenges lingered, family bridges crossed tentative. Riley's mom warm with Seattle hugs, baking pies for my girls. Harper's parents, Queen stoics thawing slow over FaceTime, dad's gruff, as long as she's good to ya, a milestone. Crew dynamics shifted, allies multiplying, the old whispers fading to irrelevance. Their partnership a quiet legend in galley lore. 1 year post-touch, a milestone flight, JFK to SEA full circle, the cabin their kingdom. Turbulence grazed light, but hands steadied mutual under carts. Smiles shared over passenger queries, the Engine's song a familiar hymn. Descent into Seattle, Rainier's snowcap gleaming. Riley leaned to Harper in the jump seats, voice low amid buckle chimes. One Sky Always. Post-flight, Pike Place revisited. Anniversary ritual. Fish tosses met with cheers, bouquets of lavender clutched. At the market's edge overlooking the sound they paused, hands linked, the fairies horn a benediction. From a brush to this, Harper mused, wind-tousling raven waves, her ring glinting, simple gold bands engraved with coordinates of that first dawn at LAX. Riley pulled her close, lips brushing temple, the brine-sharp air of vows witness. Simple changed everything. You changed me. The kiss deepened, unhurried, the world fading to their pulse. Love, once sparked in chaos, now a steady orbit, resilient as the endless blue above. In that American expanse, two women, one sky, had rewritten gravity, proving touch could conquer tempests, forging forever from fleeting. Epilogue whispers. Austin roots deepened, a garden plot yielding tomatoes under summer suns, weekend drives to Big Ben's starry vaults, where they'd pitch tents and trace constellations, bodies entwined under canvas, sighs mingling with coyote calls. Careers evolved. Riley training newbies on safety's grace, Harper advocating policy shifts in union halls, their story a catalyst for change. And in quiet nights, hands finding each other instinctive, the simple touch reborn daily. A reminder that love, like flight, thrives not in calm, but in the courage to soar through storms.